Hello and welcome to Two Car Pros. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to change the Serpentine belt for a Dodge Caravan with a 3.3 liter V6 from 2008. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is grab a breaker bar and a 19mm socket and break all the lug nuts loose. When you're breaking lug nuts loose, make sure the vehicle is still on the ground, because the weight of the vehicle is what's going to keep the tire from spinning. When you're breaking lug nuts loose, always go with gravity. Down like that. And now all the lugs are loose, we can lift the vehicle safely in the air. I have a great video for that. It's located up in the card or the description down below. Okay, with the vehicle safely in the air, we can now finish removing the passenger wheel because the engine is facing this way, and we need to get to the front of it for the Serpentine belt. Okay, it looks like my plastic fascia piece is slightly damaged, so it came out when I removed the final one that's not damaged, so I gotta remove this too. With all the lug nuts removed, we can now remove the wheel. And when you have a car up in the air and you have a wheel removed, good idea to just put the wheel right underneath the car. So if the car falls down, it can't fall past down the tire. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is remove this body clip here, because we need to remove this piece. We don't need to remove the inner fender liner, just this bottom piece. So we can use our body clip puller. Gotta get it out of there. If you don't have one of these, you can use a pair of needle nose pliers, but I'll link to one down in the description. They're super handy and they're pretty cheap. Okay, we're directly underneath the vehicle now, and there's a couple things we needed to do before we can get this cover piece off. As you can see, this is supposed to be here, but it looks like at one point this broke off, so you're gonna have to remove that body clip as well. Maybe I'll figure a way out how to rig that, because I don't like how sloppy that is. So it's pretty loose. We just need to remove, it looks like we just need to remove these bolts here. And there's two of them, it looks like, and they are 10mm each. And there's the second, and this piece comes out. Serpentine belt cover piece, I'm gonna call it. Okay, so here is your Serpentine belt tensioner. We need to take tension off of that so the Serpentine belt will come out. If you're worried about a belt diagram, do not, because I have one here for you. How nice is that? So you can take pictures of it if you want with your smartphone or something to help you remember how it goes on. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck. You might have to get on top of and underneath the vehicle a few times, but it shouldn't be too bad. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab a 3/8 drive ratchet and put it to tighten. So you push it to the right, and then the tensioner should relax the Serpentine belt. So while the Serpentine belt is slacked, like that, we can remove it. So you might come to this situation where everything's off except for the Serpentine belt tensioner, and it's not attached on the back side, so you kind of have to feed it around. Okay, so that's the belt removed. So the next thing we need to do is compare our old Serpentine belt to our new one, and we can even check it for its condition. This one's actually okay as far as, you know, cracks go. Usually when you do this on an older belt, you can see the cracks starting to form, and that's an indication that the rubber's getting old and needs to be replaced. This one's okay so far, but I'm gonna do the replacement anyway because I was asked to, and it makes a good video, right? So the belt we're gonna be using today is an ACLCO 6K795, which means many things. And I will leave a link in the description down below to Amazon. That's where I get most of my stuff. What you want to do is compare the lengths. So you want to grab both, verify that they're the same length by holding them end to end like this, which this one is. You want to verify the width of the belts, which this one's exactly the same. So the new belt is ready to go in, and we can hold on to the old belt if you want a spare. So if it's still in decent shape and the new belt breaks somewhere down the line, you have a nice spare. You can keep that in your car, and if you're on the side of the road with the belt snapped, you're not out of luck. You have your spare. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put this one back in, the old one back in the car, inside the cab or the glove box or something, and this one is going on the engine. So let's get it. Okay, so next we can replace the Serpentine belt. Now what I did first is I hooped the Serpentine belt, the new one, around the alternator first. That's at the very top. So right now this is held on to the alternator and nothing else. And then we can start routing. Okay, so basically I've worked from the top down. I started with the alternator and then moved on to the power steering pump, an AC compressor, and so forth. So I've routed it, but the last two, it looks like an AC compressor and the crankshaft. So I'm gonna leave those for last because it looks like the crankshaft is the easiest to sort of lasso with the tensioner. It might fight you a little bit because it's a new belt, it's not as stretched out, so it's gonna take a little bit more effort to get the tensioner back than it did to get on. But once it is in place, there we go. It looks like that. I realized how difficult it was to get the shot, so I'm going to show you guys what my view basically was. If you wonder why it's so bright up there, it's because I have a light up there, but you can see I started there on the alternator and then just worked my way down. It's actually fairly simple and straightforward. And of course, I put up the Serpentine belt diagram, and you want to make sure every single pulley looks like this. See how it's nice and flush and it's not going to walk off? Because if this was even off just a little bit, the belt would walk off one of the pulleys and then you have a big problem. But this looks perfect. All the pulleys are on 100%. So we're ready to rock. So again, we can check the top side of the belt, and you can see that the belt is on perfectly straight on this pulley and all the other pulleys involved. And now we can start the engine to make sure it doesn't walk off on us when we try to go drive it. The belt is staying on. This is a good sign that it's not going to come off while you're driving it. It would have walked itself off already. You only need it on for 20 to 40 seconds to make sure it's not going to. So we can go ahead and shut the engine back off. It's ready to go. Okay, and next we can replace this cover. This plastic cover piece that kind of shields the Harmonic Balancer from dirt and grime. So there's the two 10mm bolts right there, and then also this body clip, but again mine is kind of maimed, so it's kind of not going back in the stock position. And then there's also a body clip we need to replace. Body clip way up here. There we go. Next we can replace the wheel. Okay, so when we're replacing the wheel, we need to put this plastic wheel cover back on, because it's held in with the lugs. So I'm going to start this lug off. Make sure the wheel's on correctly. Just keeps falling off that flange there. And then I can screw this in. There we go, now it's not going anywhere. When dealing with lug nuts, always make sure you go any star pattern. What that basically means is you're going to go like you're drawing a star on a piece of paper. And for those of you wondering what the deal is, I'm pretty sure this wheel's been crashed at some point into something, because this lug nut here, the top is like caved in, and this plastic rim cover piece is not going on correctly. So yours won't look like this. And make sure you tighten in a star pattern. with lug nuts, always in a star pattern. And just get them tight enough while it's in the air, because we're going to torque them while it's sitting on the ground. That's why I just have this little handy dandy Bosch drill just to get it seated there. So now we can lower the vehicle down and torque the wheel. Okay, the next thing we can do is grab our torque wrench and torque each wheel in a star pattern. And there we go. So that's how to replace the Serpentine belt in a Dodge Caravan from 2008 with a 3.3 liter V6. It's fairly simple and straightforward. This is something anybody can do. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. There's nothing much to this. All applicable links are down in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.